Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to take this time to welcome our viewing public as well as the audience who have assembled outside in the chambers to our third forum consisting of our third ward council candidates. Just as a reminder, we're doing this forum a little differently than we have done in the past. What we discovered in the past, the previous forums offered little or no opportunity for candidates to respond to meaningful questions from an unbiased constituency. Instead, what we learned is that the previous format perpetuated an environment that proved to be more about self-promoting, self-grandizing, and veiled attempts at embarrassing each candidate. And we felt that the citizens of Patterson deserved better, that they deserved to have a conversation on the issues and have the ability to make a fair evaluation of the candidate's ability to serve as a council person and represent them. This panel, who have joined us this evening, consists of members of the media as well as a well-respected community member, and we'll have them introduce themselves a little later on. We also have the four candidates running for the third ward seat in the city of Patterson, and we'll also have them introduce themselves a little later on. Just as a footnote, in selecting the panel, we wanted an unbiased community member who was well-versed on issues of education, because we have long recognized that you cannot separate education as well as governance of the city. We also wanted a journalist who had a presence in social media in the electronic format, and we also wanted a journalist who had a presence in the print format as well as social media. So once again, just to lay out the format, each candidate will have an opportunity to provide an opening statement, and we will be going in alphabetical order for the opening statement, and then we'll have 5 minutes in which to do so. The opening statement, the content of which is of their choice. In reverse alphabetical order, the candidates will provide a 5-minute closing statement. The panelists will ask the various candidates a question. They will be able to ask up to 3 questions of each candidate, and they could ask those questions in no specific order. They could ask a single question and ask that all candidates respond to the one single question, or they can ask a different independent question of each of the candidates. The candidates will have, I believe it's 3 minutes to respond to the questions of, it was 2 minutes. I'm giving them more time. I think I've learned a lesson. Well, 2 minutes to respond to the questions posed by the panelists. The candidates will have an opportunity for a rebuttal of the response of the candidate to the question of 1 minute. When I say you can provide the rebuttal, it's not to anything of your choosing. You can only rebut the response that the candidate provided to the panelist question. So why don't we begin, if there's no questions, by having the panelists introduce themselves, starting with Ms. Grant.
Hello, thank you, Councilman, for this opportunity. My name is Rosie Grant. I'm Executive Director of Patterson Education Fund. I have lived or worked in Patterson for about 30 years, and my children went to Patterson Public Schools.
My name is Jay Raman. I'm a reporter for the Patterson Times. I've been covering Patterson for almost the past 4 years.
Hi, my name is Joe Malanconico. I'm editor of Patterson Press. We're a news organization created by the Citizens Campaign nonprofit group, and our stories are published on the NorthJersey.com, in the Herald News, and in the Bergen Record.
Now we'll have the candidates introduce themselves at this time. This will not be your opening statement. It's just an introduction. We just ask that you introduce who you are and the roll number in which folks can locate you on the ballot. It also gives you an opportunity to test the sensitivity of the mic. Why don't we begin with Councilman McCoy?
Good afternoon, everyone. Councilman Bill McCoy, 3rd Ward Councilman and City Council President.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Elisa Mims. I'm a candidate for the 3rd Ward. I am 1A on the ballot.
Good afternoon. My name is Flavio Rivera. I am a candidate for the 3rd Ward, and my number on the ballot is 2A.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenneth L. Simmons, also a candidate for the 3rd Ward. My roll number is 4A.
I would also remind the candidates as well as the panelists, you want to be sure that when you're speaking, the green light is on, and when you're not speaking, that the green light is off, because it will pick up sort of that ambient conversation that you may not want out into the public. Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask my able-bodied, these are actually my bosses, you know, and I think everyone who knows city business knows that to be true, and we're going to start on my right with an introduction.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Gordon, and I'm the acting city clerk, and welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Joan Campbell Douglas. I'm the deputy city clerk, and welcome to you all.
Okay, and actually the bosses of my bosses who will actually be keeping the time, we have Mr. Jackie Murray.
Miss.
I'm sorry? Did I say, what did I say? I said Mr.? No, I didn't. Mrs. Jackie Murray and Mrs. Audrey Courtright. And they will be keeping the time. They will be holding up signs indicating the times that you have left. We ask that you pay attention to the signs, because you will be asked to cease your comments at the appropriate time. So, as I said, why don't we begin with the opening statements in alphabetical order, beginning with Councilman McCoy.
Again, good evening, everyone, Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk, members of the clerk staff, to Councilman Morris, who's facilitating this discussion this evening, to the members of the panel that's here, and to those that are in this challenge for the 3rd Ward seat. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Councilman Bill McCoy, first elected to the Municipal Council in 2000, and I've been serving in that capacity over that time. I'm currently serving as the council president, and I've been in that position 4 terms during my service. I first came to the city of Patterson roughly 44 years ago in 1972. As a young man, I attended John F. Kennedy High School and met a beautiful teacher, Mrs. Sharon Smith, who had a real impact on my life and allowed me to transition to my new environment in a very positive way. Finished my high school experience and went on to William Patterson College, then now William Patterson University, and graduated with an accounting degree and started employment with New Jersey Bell in 1980. Served as an accountant in the accounting classification division, and subsequently was promoted to internal auditor and served New Jersey Bell as an internal auditor. Finally, I went on to a stint to the National Exchange Carrier Association as a manager of methods and procedures for settlement. That opportunity, once elected to the Board of Ed, allowed me to serve on a panel that developed what is now known as the E-Rate program for schools and libraries, a $3.25 billion project that was assigned to the Schools and Libraries Agency for the nation. During that process, I worked with the Patterson Board of Ed to file an application that allowed us to move from Centrex service, which was being provided by the phone company, to a PBX, because we were able to wire the entire city of Patterson, connecting all of our schools, resulting in over $350,000 cost savings, both to the Board of Ed and ultimately to the city of Patterson once we moved to the city council. I am a family man in every sense of the word. I'm married to the love of my life, Brenda McCoy. We've been married for the last 33 years. I have 3 children who were all raised in the city of Patterson and attended Patterson Public Schools. I may want to point out to you that while I was attending Patterson Public Schools, I enjoyed the benefits of the free and reduced lunch, because my mom was, my dad had passed, my mom was a single mom at that time, and we did not have the funds, and we qualified. Subsequently, because of my education and my employment, thankfully I was able to raise my children who attended the schools and were under the paid lunch program, which means you had the income to not qualify for free and reduced lunch. And during that whole process, it was simply signing your signature on the top of the form, recognizing that you did not qualify, and you make provisions for your children to have lunch. During the process of my service on the City Council over these times, I've been able to be, I believe, an effective legislator and one who has been able to work well with my colleagues as well as the administration to bring sound experience and proven leadership to the Municipal Council and to the City of Paterson. As a Third Ward representative, I saw abandoned property in the Third Ward that was laying fallow and not bringing any tax rateable to our city. Many of our problems that we face today is a matter of economic development. As a result of that, myself and others on the council fought against the naysayers who said we ought not to give any tax incentive to others to invest, but we worked with the Home Depot developer and allowed for Home Depot to come to Paterson on Route 20. And as a result of that, you see the economic development and vitality that is happening now in the Route 20 corridor, with many businesses being brought in and bringing millions of dollars of tax revenue to our city. Similarly, we were able to have the same impact on the old Alabama, which is now the Heritage. And you see the difference in quality housing that is bringing not only economic development, but a greater quality of life to our community. I've been involved with the Bill McCoy Foundation that have serviced many children in our city, and have done that over a period of time. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been committed to the Third Ward, bringing real progress, and I ask for your consideration on May 10th to consider Councilman Bill McCoy, 3A, on your ballot. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
You must have a stopwatch there, because that was exactly 5 minutes to the second. Ms. Laisa Mims.
Good afternoon to our esteemed panelists who are here, who we frequent all the time, to our Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk, and to Mr. Counsel at Large, Mr. Kim Morrison, to the candidates that are here. My name is Elisa Mims. I've been in this city 46 years. I'm a lifelong resident. I've matriculated through the Paterson Public School System, starting off in School 21, going on to Paterson Catholic for 2 years, and then being an infamous ghost in class of '87, going on to Passaic County Community College, which is here in Paterson, matriculating all the way to my doctoral degree in 2009 with a 4.0 GPA, where I was the valedictorian of the class. I'm a single mother. I've raised my 4 children in this urban city, and they're doing some good things. You know, as a single parent, we have to be able to guide and to nurture them in the process and in the place where we are, and so we have to lead by example. I'm also a corporate executive. I've worked in the corporate arena for over 20 plus years. I started off in customer service, and then my last job was at Verizon, where I developed the Fios product. I was one of the first African-American females in Verizon to be a part of the Fios development team, where I work with the engineers, marketing, and all of the broadband industry to develop the product that we actually watch today, known as Fios. I have been known for my character building development processes. I've been known for integrity. I am known for making sure that things are done and they're done efficiently. I have been awarded many opportunities for leadership and so many different things in the community and outside of this community. I also want to note that I'm a senior pastor and founder of a church in this community, which started out with 0 members, and we are thriving with over 200 members at this point. So there is transformation. Strategic planner, making sure that before I move, things are done in a spirit of excellence, making sure that the needs of our youth, our seniors, are always at the forefront, and assuring that whatever the decisions that are made, that they're made for the benefit of all. I'm a school board commissioner. I've been advocating for kids for a very long time, as I've advocated for my own children. I've done it in the community. I provided scholarships and book bags, Thanksgiving, Christmas toy drives, help with FOSFA, taking kids to college, helping them be able to transition into being productive in the community. I have lived here, I have loved here, I have developed here, and I've been cultivated here. I was a part of a program in this community called Leadership Patterson, which was run by Mr. Charlie Miller and Mr. Jamie Dykes, and that purpose of the Leadership Patterson program was to develop people in the community that one day they will hold seats in the community to provide good governance in this community. I was afforded that opportunity. I graduated there in 2002. My name is Elisa Mims. I am 1A on the ballot. I've been trained, I've been skilled, and I'm ready. It's a good day in Patterson that you have fresh faces, fresh ideas coming to the table, and people are not afraid to step up to the plate to say not only will Patterson get better, but Patterson will be better. It's time for change. It's time for some new innovation. It's time for some witty ideas and creativity to be blended into this community. It's time for us to move from where we are into new places. When you look at what we've done as far as education and adopting schools. I've adopted schools for over 9 years. I started out with adopting about 5 schools, and since then 5 others have adopted me because of all the work that I actually do in the community by making sure that wherever there are a lack of resources that they are provided and that our children are always taken care of. And so my purpose for running is to make sure that this city is known as the city it's always been known for, and that is the city of righteousness, where people can grow, they can be cultivated, they can be trained and developed, because in this city good things do come out. I'm a product of that, I'm a witness of it, and it's time for us to put someone in place that knows the city, has the passion for the heart of the people, and can move this city forward. Remember, my name is Elisa Mims. I am 1A on the ballot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Next, we'll have Mr. Rivera.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank this panel for putting this forum together, and for the viewers at home for taking an interest in this upcoming election. My name is Flavio Rivera. I'm a proud father of Joshua and Brianna Rivera. I'm also a candidate, as I stated previously, of the 3rd Ward, and my number on the ballot is 2A. I want to start by telling you a little bit about myself. I came to this country when I was 11 years old. I went and attended School 24, graduated from Eastside High School, where I played baseball for 4 years. Decided to attend Ramapo College, where I earned a bachelor's degree in accounting. From an early age, my mother taught me the value of hard work and to always be the best at whatever I decided to do. My mother worked in factories for many years, making minimum wage to make sure we had a roof over our heads. Through her actions, she also taught me to help others, even if I had to sacrifice myself. I've been working since I was 15 years old. While in high school, I worked on weekends and during my summer vacations. Things have not been easy, but I would not have it any other way, because you tend to appreciate things more when you work hard for them. While working for Hudson United Bank's corporate office in Mahwah, I decided to apply for the city of Patterson because the bank was going through a merger with TD Bank. This is where my involvement in city government started. I was hired by the city of Patterson as an internal auditor in 2004. In 2007, I applied for a position as coordinator of federal state aid, also served as internal auditor during that time, where my main responsibility was to oversee all the fiscal operation of every county grant. After several years, I was promoted to my current position, which is Passaic County Treasurer. Everything I've gotten in life, I've earned through hard work. After graduating from Ramapo College, I decided to attend Rutgers University Center for Government Services, where I enrolled in the Municipal Management Program. This program trains municipal and county finance personnel in the responsibility of everyday fiscal operations. These courses cover every aspect of city government and county government, not just the financial element of it. I outline my relevant work experience and training to give you a sense of what I've been doing, what I bring to the table. I am not new at this. When elected, I would not need a learning experience. I'm going to start running. I've been analyzing city's issues for a long time now. I would like to, probably over 8 years. If you want to count the time that I was here, I would say 10. I decided to run for office because I can no longer see what is happening in the city and just stay on the sideline. I asked myself the following question, and I want you at home to ask yourself the same question. Are we better off today than we were 10 years ago? In my opinion, the clear answer is no. We need check and balances in government. Under our former government, our current councilman could use the investigative powers to look after our best interests, and this is not happening. We need check and balances. We cannot continue the way we've been doing business. With my work background and training, I will serve everyone in the Third Ward, and we work with the rest of the council members to make decisions that will benefit the whole city. In order to better serve the community and the Third Ward, I've been going door to door, knocking on doors to make sure that I understand the issue and what each person feel that is the biggest issue they have in the city. And the overall results is frustration. People are frustrated with what is going on in this city. People just can't afford the high taxes that have been imposed on them year after year. If you look, I believe you guys wrote an article before, we have over 10 years, if not 11, of continuous tax increase in this city. We have dirty streets, noise pollution, you name it. Our parks, a lot of illegal activities are happening in our parks. What good do you do as being a legislator here in the city if you cannot make sure that the administration enforces those ordinances? And yes, you could control the administration through the budget. That's how you could control them. If you want them to be doing something, what you do is you make sure you allocate the resources where they're supposed to be. It's just frustrating just watching how, and again, it's just a lot of things that are happening here. But one example is how a budget is presented, and even Councilman Morris was quoted in the newspaper recently. I've been saying it for the past 8 years, that the administration have been submitted the council people with irresponsible budgets, and he was quoted in the newspaper as saying that. I would like to conclude by saying, let's bring positive change to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Simmons.
Thank you for the opportunity, and hello and good afternoon to all that are assembled here and to the viewing public. My name is Kenneth L. Simmons. I am row 4A on the ballot. Again, a candidate for the Third Ward Council seat. I want to start off by explaining some of the qualifications which I think uniquely qualify me to serve on the City Council. Not least of which is my 6 years serving on the Patterson Board of Education. I'm a member in my second term, and during that time, I've learned how to work with my board members, my fellow board members, to get things done for our children. We've learned to build strong relationships with the administration, because without that relationship, it is extremely difficult to get anything done. During that time also, I've been vice president twice, I've also been chair of some key committees, including legal, policy, technology, CUSAC. I've served on the curriculum and finance committees as well. For those who are not aware, in a state-controlled district, policy committee is the single most powerful committee on the Board of Education, because when the board writes policy, the administration has to write a regulation to enforce that policy. And that is how we that's how we build a relationship with the administration to get the things done. I am a father of 6, 2 college graduates, 2 in college currently, 1 in high school, 1 in elementary school, all of whom attended Patterson Public Schools. I am currently employed as a computer systems engineer for Pearson Education. I've been there for 16 years. I am the director of Internet Technology, where I service data centers and people actually worldwide, many educational institutions. I have a bachelor's degree in computer information systems, currently pursuing a master's in business administration and data analytics from Thomas Edison State University. I am the founder of the Kenneth L. Simmons and the Valerie M. Day Boys and Girls Leadership Summits, a summit that we've been doing every year for the past 6 years, where we bring in mentors and community leaders and business leaders to mentor our children and teach them about educational responsibility, personal responsibility, goal setting, and things of that nature. Have a long history in community service dating back 30 years. At age 19, I started my first mentoring program. Many of those young men are now married with their own families, serving the community, not only here in Patterson, and some of them have moved out of state. They are all college graduates. I've been a long-time track coach, a long-time basketball coach, a long-time football coach in the city. So over the years, I've had the opportunity to help cultivate and mentor many of our youth and make sure that they are successful. I'm also a founding member and vice president of Patterson Cares Organization, an organization that helps and assists those who are in need, not just the homeless, not just by feeding them, but pointing them to services that they need, and those services, connecting them with those services so that they begin to live a better life. Also, a founding member of an organization called The Village. That organization has gone out in the streets in these times of high crime and lots of violence. We have gone out into the streets and walked and talked with people who are not only committing crimes, but those who have been victims of crimes, putting those people together and coming up with a plan to address the ills that plague our city. I'm a member of Integrity Lodge number 51, where I've also served in leadership, and also a Prince Hall Shriner. So my capacity for service has always been there. I've been active in this community, as I said, for a very long time, and I'm looking to bring change to the Third Ward. The Third Ward has become, since I moved there 30 years ago, the quality of life has gone downhill, and it continues to do so as the city has made headway in other areas, and by suppressing crime in different areas of the city, crime has increased in the Third Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I would also suggest that the candidates, when you're responding to the questions or you're speaking into the mic, that we have 2 cameras located on both sides of the room. Those cameras put your face out to the viewing public. You know, although I appreciate, you know, you're looking over it this way, and I'm sure the panelists appreciate you looking at them, you know, but you may want to focus your attention on those cameras. We'll begin with our first question from the panelists, from Ms. Rosie Grant.
Thank you, Councilman. Patterson Public Schools have 29,000 kids and probably another 3,000 in charter or parochial schools. What, in your purview, is the council's role in ensuring a high-quality education, and what part will you play in that? For the candidates who are currently seated on the school board, how will this enhance or differ from your current role as school board members? My question is to all the candidates, and I do have a bias. It's towards children and education. Thank you. Let's start with Mr. McCoy and move across. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Clearly, having served on the Board of Education, and at my last term was board president, I do recognize the importance of education to our city and to our community. In order to have a thriving city, you need an excellent educational system. Unfortunately, we don't have that today. One of the key things I believe one must understand, that I do, is the meaning of the Abbott decision, the meaning of a thorough and efficient education. And I think when you understand that, you will see your role differently, both on the City Council and on the Board of Ed. It is our responsibility to advocate for the needs of our children and to make sure that they get everything that they're entitled to in order to achieve a thorough and efficient education. That is not being done today, and many board members are unaware of their true responsibility. So I think advocacy is a key part, and to support the efforts of the Board of Ed to advocate both at the governor's level and at the Board of Education level, statewide, to provide proper funding for our Board of Education students and to make sure they're receiving a thorough and efficient education. The example I often set is that a child at Passaic County Tech could grow up to be an Olympic swimmer because they have an Olympic swimming pool. In Patterson, you don't have that. So the schools that are even currently being built are built not ready to meet the needs of all of our children. And I think we should open up our schools as community centers that can be more effective in delivering the services that children need at every level. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mims.
Hi, that's a great question. Education is very key. Education is my life. I believe education is the bridge that will take us beyond not just the local borders here, but it will take us to be competitive on global levels. So when it comes to our role as a council versus school board, I think there needs to be a partnership that is built to ensure that we have a working relationship and there's a communication model in place to ensure that whatever is being done on both levels that will enhance the educational process for our kids, that we're at the table on both sides. In our vision for the school district, it is to supply a thorough and efficient education for all based on the state requirements. We know and understand that we are currently underfunded by approximately $281 million, which does not allow us to provide the resources and the adequate excellence that's needed for our children to succeed. Currently, the city council, or at the city level, they're supplying approximately $39 million, which has not went up in a few years. So we need to really come to the table, address it at a state level to say we need to get the money that's owed to us, but then we need to come to the city and to find out where do our kids fit in the process of city. Because in the budget is $75 million, but where do our kids fit in when in the budget only 0.01% of the budget speaks to recreation? It does not speak to the educational process or the after-school programs that our children really need. And I think there needs to be a voice at the table that can say they have the skill sets, not just because they're on the school board, because if you have only gained the skills on the school board, then you've already lost. I think the person needs to be someone that has matriculated through the school system, their kids have went through the school system, they fight on a daily basis, and one of the roles of a city council person is advocacy. And you have to be an advocate for the kids in whatever role you play, and I don't think just stepping on one stage allows you to be an advocate. You can be an advocate from your backyard, you can be an advocate on your block, you can be an advocate from wherever you are, and that's why we need to work together to build our community, our children.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Mr. Rivera.
Yes, something that I have noticed throughout the years following city government is that the council have not been involved with the educational system of the district. I noticed the council only gets involved when the district threatens to raise the tax levy to our constituents. We need to bring all our legislators together. We've been fighting for local control for quite some time. As commissioners, we're limited in our decision-making at the district level. Many of the decisions are made without our consent, and the end result is us being affected as a community. So as a councilman, when elected, I will work with the district because I understand that we all need to work together and go to Trenton and fight for our right through for a thorough and efficient education for our kids. But a lot of the times I have some arguments because sometimes you got to work with what you have. And although we're underfunded for millions and millions of dollars, we also have requirements that are imposed on us, state laws. For example, a budget needs to be balanced. The problem we have is that we're being underfunded and we don't have enough support from the council here to fight that battle with us in Trenton. So going forward, we need more support from the council, and I encourage the residents at home to really think through when you make this decision on May 10th, because we need to fight for the whole city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Simmons.
It's an interesting question. I have served as the chair for the Joint Government Committee for the Board of Education, where we try to establish a relationship and build a partnership with the City Council to support realistically to support the goals of the Board of Ed. So when it comes to funding, I know that the council cannot take an active role as it is a state-run district, but they can support our position as we've done with the council with resolutions to support our position on funding, and also to build partnerships with businesses in the community to help us maybe bring internships and those types of things so that our students are not only preparing for college, but preparing for the future. We would like every child to go to college, but we know that that's not the case. So we have to also prepare them for work after high school, because some kids, that will be the route that they take. And I think that the city, and building a partnership with the Board of Education, and it has to be a continuous partnership. It can't be, as Commissioner Rivera said, not around budget time when there are tax implications or tax levy implications. That has to be an ongoing partnership so that we make sure that those types of things, those type of programmatic things take place.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Ms. Mims, I assume you would like to rebuttal?
I just want to, just to say, because Patterson Public School is not the only entity responsible for our children. Our children are a city-wide responsibility, and if we divide the two, we're going to be where we are. We need to understand that all of us are responsible for the children in this city. And if we understand that and we know it, we have to fight for our children from whatever level it is, whether it's city council, whether it's on the school board, whether it's at the state level. And if we keep dividing the two, saying this entity can't do it versus this entity, then we're going to keep being at the same place. Our neighbors are our children. Our community children are our children. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to raise a community. So we have to begin to partner. There is an educational committee in the city council. We need to make sure that that's efficient and that it's effective, and that we're working to ensure that our children get what they so rightfully deserve. So we have to stop the mindset and the perception that they're divided, and we have to work together, because if we wait to say, I'm going to help the children when I get to school board, that's a problem.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Any others? Then we'll move on to our next question by Mr. Rutman.
Last year, Patterson Police Department conducted a survey. They took 93 police officers who patrolled the streets during the night, and 74 of those police officers said crime from the hotspot areas are moving into the surrounding neighborhoods. Now, would you guys, this question is for all of you, would you support the hotspot ordinance, the business curfew, if elected?
Since we began the first response with Councilman McCoy, we'll have Ms. Mims go first on this one.
That's a great question. I think before you start any initiative or propose any legislation within the city, there needs to be forums in place that you talk to your neighbors. You have to go and talk to the constituents to find out their needs and their priorities to identify what are the issues. When it's been identified, it's been assessed that in that area, crime has increased, different things, there's no, and those things are not in place, then we come to the table and say, these are some things that are being proposed, but it's only after we've listened to the community, identified what their concerns are, then we're able to propose legislation that will affect everybody. The problem we have with the police officers that's been off, there's been a great job that's been done by Director Spezial coming back. He's been doing a great job with the initiatives, but one of the things that we're missing in the community is community patrolling. If they see visible police officers patrolling the beat, it will cause crime to decrease. We used to have it before. We need to move back into those ideas and some of those things that we had special force officers working the beat. And there's an initiative that was proposed where we would have patrollers walking the beat without having any type of weaponry. But it was taken off the table. We need to relook at that. We need to revisit that, because I believe that if we have community patrolling in the areas where there's hot spots or not, because once you tap into hot spots, it goes over to cool spots. So we want that there be a calmness across the entire city and not just in certain areas, because if you tap into just one area, it spreads, and that's what we're seeing in the Third Ward. We have to stop it, and not just in those areas, we have to stop it across the city.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Mr. Rivera.
This situation that we have in our hands right now, we actually have to look at data to see what is going on. You clearly said that the opinion of the 75 of those police officers is that, okay, you improving the quality of life in that area.
74.
74 officers?
Right.
Okay. You stated that 74 officers basically stated that a lot of the crime is moving into the neighborhoods. So I have a concern because if you could identify where the problems are, I don't think the best way to address it is just to move it other places. And I would tackle this on a case-by-case basis. What I mean by that, this is the third largest city in New Jersey. And we can't just close the whole city down at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So I would take it case-by-case basis. For example, we have areas that there's no neighbors around. So you know what? You might need a nightlife. Although this is not in the third ward, I'll give you an example. Look at this downtown area. It is dangerous to walk in downtown around even 8, 9 o'clock because no one is around. People feel safe when there's people around. So your question is, would I support the ordinance? On a case-by-case basis, I would support it. Closing all the businesses in the city is not the best thing. People have made investments. People have made large investments based on the amount of money that the business was generating because of the operating hours. Those people now, a great example is on Union Avenue. A guy there spent 20 years, a veteran, a good citizen. He has been, he had that business for over 20 years. All of a sudden, now he's a problem, but he's not causing the problems. Other businesses are causing the problems. So you putting all of them together, it should be treated on a case-by-case basis, on an area-by-area basis, not just closing the whole city down. And that's where we're heading lately. You guys want to close the whole city, and I don't agree with that.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Simmons.
Interesting question, and I'm going to take a different approach. I do support the ordinance. However, I believe that the ordinance should have been a citywide ordinance. We do want a nightlife. However, you can make exemptions. So if there are restaurants that are restaurants, for instance, Mamajuana, you can do it by square footage, similar to what Jersey City has done. So you want a nightlife, but you also want the citizens to be safe. We have to begin to close the loopholes that some of our liquor stores have where they put a bar in and now it's a liquor store / tavern. Either you are a tavern or you are a liquor store. And let's be clear. So making it citywide gives you flexibility, but it also, you can also put in exemptions to accommodate those businesses, again, like Mamajuana, like those restaurants that are on the Route 20 corridor, so that we can enjoy an adult nightlife.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. McCoy.
Thank you. Directly to the question, yes, we support the hotspot legislation. It has proven to be effective in reducing crime in those areas. We do recognize that it can have an impact on the local business, but we also have to weigh that against the community benefit and the community interest. We also have to recognize that the ABC laws are not entirely within the city purview, but that it's a state level with the ABC board, and so we have to understand how that works and how that interacts with our city. We did not impose a citywide curfew because I don't believe that it's necessary or would be effective. The crime was done through the crime analysis to identify those specific areas that had a problem and needed to be improved. And we did that, and it's been very effective. Yes, there's been some displacement, in my opinion. There's also been a change in the culture of folks using drugs, particularly heroin epidemic on the suburban communities around the city of Paterson. And one of the things that they're using is the highway system to use Route 20 and to shoot into Paterson and shoot out. We have to change and adapt our policing strategy to address that issue, and that's why we'll be focusing our 50 special police officers on quality of life issues and monitoring our parks to address those circumstances as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Or Ms. Mims.
Who are we to dictate to businesses what time they should open and what time they should close? Who are we without talking to them, sitting down at the table and saying, these are some issues. What are your concerns? Giving them an idea to come up with some solutions, whether they hire their own security, they hire their own officers to be in their locations to keep them safe. We have to be able, I totally agree with the case by case, because we have to be very careful with how we dictate people's money. We have enough issues where we don't have a revenue base that is creating a relief for our taxpayers, and so we have to be very careful when it comes to trying to shut the city down and then affect business owners that have been in this community, that have been a great, productive part of this community, to say to them, we're gonna shut you down for a couple of people that don't seem to understand that people want a better quality of life. So we have to be very careful, and that's why speaking to the community is very important before we make any decisions.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Mr. Simmons.
ABC gives municipalities a wide latitude. There are some restrictions. So if you are a liquor store, you do have to stop selling liquor at a certain time. The loophole, again, is that liquor stores have been putting bars bars in their establishments. So now it becomes a liquor store / tavern. And if you've been out here, you know that through that loophole, people are going in, they'll open the bottle, and then they leave because it was opened in a tavern. So again, if you expand it, you actually create flexibility. You create flexibility, and you can have some exemptions because, again, we do want a thriving nightlife. This is similar to what other municipalities have done, like similar to Patterson, Jersey City, being one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. Rivera.
I would just like to add that during my whole campaigning time, I've been knocking on doors, and a lot of the residents have told me that what they've seen lately after they close, some of the areas is that they're seeing more drug activity in their neighborhoods. So we have to assess not just a specific area, we have to make sure that we're addressing the issues. Just moving the crime to a different spot is not addressing the issue. Mr. Simmons just passed a comment regarding how some liquor stores are becoming clubs in a way. Well, they have to come here before the council for an entertainment license. So you know what? You do have some control of what goes on. If you tackle that early, if you feel that in that area, there's enough residents that live in that area, and it would not be in the best interest of that neighborhood to have a place conducting that type of business in late hours, then why approve it? That is my question. Why approve it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. McCoy.
It's amazing. Who are we? We're city government. And as city government, you represent everyone. And everyone has the right to exercise their free will in going into business. And you can't disenfranchise someone by putting up artificial barriers to prevent them from going into business. So to say someone applies for an entertainment and show license and there are no exceptions that would prevent them from being approved, and you would deny them because, in your opinion, you don't feel that they should be in that location, that's discriminatory practice. It's against good government. Everybody's entitled to fair representation from the government that they serve. What we're talking about is if you've proven to be a bad neighbor, if you're proven to be derelict of your duties and impact on the community negatively, then you have a process for adjustment. But to disadvantage someone simply by denying them a license is totally inappropriate for the government that we serve.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. We'll now continue with the panelist questions with Mr. Melanconico.
Hi. So whoever wins this election will be in office when the city's current contract with Suburban Disposal, AKA Roselli Sanitation, expires. The current incumbent, the Third Ward, has suggested and urged the city to examine the possibility of discontinuing privatization of the garbage collection and have that done in-house by DPW employees. What do you see as the pros and cons of that proposal, and would you support such a move? And that's to all the candidates.
We begun with Ms. Mims at the last round. We'll begin with Mr. Rivera.
Yes, I believe it's a good idea, but we have to look at the pros and cons. Again, I've heard many stories of things that are going on with this company, the method in which they're picking up their garbage, taking money to take, other garbage that they're not supposed to pick up. And also, when you subcontract to these companies, you can't hold them accountable a lot of times. You could put stipulations in the contract, but it's hard to hold them accountable. We got to look at a lot of pros and cons. For example, we have to ask ourselves, do we have the equipment to provide this service, right? That's going to incur, you're going to have to borrow money for that. And if you looked at the budget recently, part of the reason why our budget went up tremendously is because our debt service went up almost $3 million. And that's not taking into account the $36 million that we currently borrow. We're still not paying that. So we got to look at the pros and cons. Do we need to bring it in-house? Yes, I agree 100%. But I would have to sit with the administration, see how much this equipment will cost, see if we have the staff in place. We actually have to do a cost-benefit analysis to make sure that this is what the city actually, how this will benefit the city as a whole. But I definitely agree something has to be done regarding this company. I hear a lot of complaints about it, and I will work with the administration and with the council to make sure that we do what we need to do to improve the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Simmons.
I think it would be a good idea to bring it in. However, again, there needs to be a cost-benefit analysis. I think that if we have Patterson residents actually collecting the garbage who actually care about the city, those folks that live here and work here actually give a little more care about the city. I do see the current garbage removal company that they'll leave garbage cans in the middle of the street, or sometimes they'll just leave garbage and they'll never clean up after themselves. So I actually, on my garbage night, I have to go up every time and clean up what they've left behind. So I think it's a good idea. Again, there would be a question of, can we afford to do it and bring it in-house? Sometimes bringing things in-house costs a little more than keeping them outside.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. McCoy.
This has been come to be termed as the McCoy Plan. I think it's a great recommendation to change DPW into an enterprise account within the city of Patterson, a means of generating not only income, but providing employment to our community, particularly to those that are most challenged in that area. When I say enterprise, I mean that the services that DPW currently provides, sanitation, garbage collection, could be afforded via shared service agreement to neighboring towns without costing us that much of an incremental difference and bringing revenue to our city of Patterson. Often our surrounding communities benefit from us because we're a larger city in getting service at a very low fee. In addition to making sure that those services are priced at the market level, I think we should engage in allowing DPW to be an enterprise unit to collect garbage in our local communities. Also, the investment in that equipment, as it's done in New York and many other places, can be used for snowplow removal, snow plowing during the winter months when the trucks are there for us. So you'll get a double use out of that and be able to bring down the cost of operation at the same time, providing much needed jobs, and more importantly, redeveloping our young people and adults in giving them transitional work that they can go on to more protective employment in other areas. So I think it's a great plan, and I would support it.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Ms. Mims.
I don't know how many times I probably would agree with Mr. McCoy, but I do on this one. I do believe that this is a great plan. I believe that we vet out a lot of our business outside of this community, and I think that we need to show the appreciation of the people that live here and create job opportunities for people in this community. I've always lived by the fact that the better the report, the better the results. And so when you work and you show the workers, the DPW workers, that now you've tapped into something that we've been vetting outside and we've been providing resources to Suburban Disposal, and now we're looking at a plan so that you will get maybe higher salaries. Maybe we'll be able to give some of your family members or friends or your neighbors or some of the kids that need to be to come off of drugs or alcoholism or whatever the issues are. Now they have an opportunity to get a job. I think it's a win-win for this community. I'm all for cost-benefit analysis. I think we need to analyze everything, but I think this is a great plan. I think the people of Patterson will appreciate for once and for all that we've looked at their needs, and then we won't have all the issues with the snow removal. I think some of that will be limited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Any rebuttals? Seeing none, we'll move on to Mr. Redmond for your question, follow-up question. Remember, Ms. Grant went first last time.
Okay, all right, I understand. This was for Councilman McCoy. So hey, do you have an estimate as to how much the garbage collection, if you bring it in-house, is going to cost the city? In terms of equipment and everything else?
We flushed out that price. A few $1 million here or there would be able to provide the equipment. You don't have to always go with brand new equipment. Right in our community, American Hose is a company that does most of the maintenance for a lot of state vehicles and trucks, and they could really secure for us the vehicles that we need. The focus also is to do that over time, and as we've seen with the fire department, there's a provision for a lease purchase agreement with the fire truck so that you could go into a lease payment agreement for vehicles that would provide you with new vehicles up front, but an extended period of time to pay for that at a much lower rate than if you were to capitalize it initially up front. So I think we'd also suggested this plan as part of the road resurfacing, the $38 million that would be used, that we use a portion of those funding to support this effort. But anything that we're planning to do, the revenue would have to be sufficient to repay any debt or any expenses that we've incurred, and that's why we're looking at the neighboring towns to do the garbage collection. As well, if you look at the cost of snow removal and snow plowing that we pay contractors to do now, that's an expense that we would not have to do, and the benefit also in terms of providing employment to our city residents. Those who are having jobs and paying their taxes can contribute positively to our community. And so we have to look at the benefit in both human capital as well as the hard cost of equipment and labor.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Mr. Rodman, do you have a question for any of the other panelists?
I do. I would like to ask.
Before you move on, was there a rebuttal?
Yes,
Ms. Mims?
My thing is, one of the things that I don't know if we do a good job of is sitting down with our neighboring towns. I think if we sit down with them and find out best practices, sometimes we will not have to spin our wheels so long on finding ways to do things a little bit better. I think if we sit down with our neighboring towns such as Heldon, Clifton, Elmwood Park, or cities of this size or magnitude like Jersey City, Hoboken, to find out some of the transformative ways that they've just recultured their city, that we would change the climate and the morale of the people that live here. I think we have to condition our mind to know that the morale needs to change, and by looking into all the different avenues, I think we need to have other people at the table from neighboring towns to say, how are you doing this? How is it getting done, and what did you pay for it? Because maybe we'll find a benefit in doing that versus spinning our wheels and losing first before we win. We want to win from the very beginning.
Thank you, Ms. Mims. Any other rebuttals, Mr. Rivera?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this very brief, and I don't want this to turn into a hostile environment. But the question that you asked was if he has received a cost-benefit analysis, and the response, the first sentence was a few millions here and there. This is where my frustration starts, and that's why we're having the problems that we have in this city. A simple answer, a simple no would have been fine with me, right? We'll get that information from the administration later. It is a good idea on paper, but just simply saying a few millions here and there, it's not a good response, in my opinion, as a taxpayer and a resident of the city. I don't think that's acceptable. And also, maybe I apologize if I misunderstood what the councilman said regarding the road resurfacing and the $36 million we borrow. That money could only be used for that purpose.
Mr. Rivera, the rebut would only be for the question that's asked. If you want to respond to anything else, you could do that during your closing remarks.
Thank you, sir.
Any other rebuttal? Mr. Simmons.
And I'm not sure if it's a rebuttal, but I'm not sure if I heard him say that it wasn't fleshed out just yet. But I wouldn't have answered the question with a few million here, considering our fiscal condition. I would have preferred just a no. I don't have the estimate.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. Rotman, did you have any questions for any other candidates?
I do have another question for Flavio Rivera. So you said the city council is not much involved in with the school district. In the past year, the city council did join in on submitting joint resolutions with the school board. So what do you have in mind